The Iridians made a fatal mistake underestimating us. That's why we made damn sure they'd fear the humans, Henry growled, reclining in his chair at the briefing. Henry Bennett was a skilled human fighter pilot on a routine patrol near the outer edges of human space. His instruments picked up a strange energy reading from an uncharted planet below. Curious, he landed to investigate. Amidst the craggy landscape, he found the smoldering wreckage of an alien ship. The technology was beyond anything he had ever seen, more advanced than any human craft. As he examined the debris, a dozen tall gray figures with glowing red eyes emerged from the rocks, encircling him. Iridians, the most ruthless conquerors in the galaxy. Their leader, Commander Naso, leveled his plasma rifle at Henry's chest. "Surrender, human," Naso spat in a guttural alien tongue. "You are now a prisoner of the Iridian Empire." Henry's hand inched toward his holstered pistol. These Iridian bastards had subjugated countless worlds. Like hell, he'd let them capture him. In a flash, Henry dove for cover, firing rapidly. Naso screeched in pain as a bullet tore through his shoulder. The Iridians opened fire, but Henry was too quick. He snatched a throbbing power core from the ship's remains and sprinted to his fighter, dodging plasma blasts. He launched off the planet, Naso's enraged howls echoing over the comms as Henry escaped into the void. Earth's top brass were astonished when Henry presented the stolen Iridian power core. With this level of technology, the Iridians could triple the yield of their planet-killing missiles, obliterate human colonies in an instant. Intel suggested the Iridians were already planning an invasion. If they got this power core back, it would mean the end of humanity's galactic dominance. High Command knew what had to be done. Henry and his squad of elite soldiers were promptly dispatched on a top-secret mission: infiltrate Iridian space, learn their invasion plans, and recover any other pieces of the downed ship before the Iridians could. The fate of humanity hung in the balance. One wrong move and the Iridians would overrun Earth itself. As they hurtled into the heart of Iridian territory, Henry clutched his rifle tight. This was it. Him and his men against the fiercest warriors in the galaxy. The Iridians would rue the day they dared to threaten humankind. By the end of this mission, Henry vowed, the Iridians would learn to fear the humans. Henry Bennett crouched low, his heart pounding, as he and his team crept through the dimly lit corridors of the Iridian military outpost. The advanced stealth suits they wore rendered them nearly invisible to the alien security systems. Each step was carefully placed, each breath measured as they inched closer to their target. "All right, boys, stay sharp," Henry whispered into his comlink. "Intel suggests the main control room is just ahead. That's where we'll find what we're looking for." They reached a heavily reinforced door guarded by two hulking Iridian soldiers. Henry signaled to his team. In a flash, they struck, silenced pulse rifles dropping the guards before they could even raise an alarm. Inside the control room, they found a scene of organized chaos. Iridian technicians hunched over glowing screens, barking orders in their harsh language. Henry spotted the central computer terminal. "Cover me!" he hissed to his men, then darted forward. His fingers flew over the alien keypad as he hacked into the system. Streams of data flickered across the screen. Henry's eyes widened as he realized what he was seeing. "My God," he breathed. "It's worse than we thought. They're planning a full-scale invasion. And with these new weapons they've developed from that crashed ship, we don't stand a chance." Suddenly, an alarm blared. The Iridians had discovered the intrusion. "Time to go!" Henry yelled, snatching the data drive. They burst out into the corridor, straight into a patrol led by a familiar figure, Commander Naso. The Iridian's eyes burned with rage as he recognized Henry. "You!" he snarled, raising his plasma rifle. All hell broke loose. Plasma bolts and bullets filled the air as the humans and Iridians clashed in a brutal close-quarters battle. Henry's team was outnumbered, but they had the edge in training and tactics. They moved as one, covering each other, cutting down the aliens with ruthless efficiency. In the midst of the chaos, Henry found himself face-to-face with Naso. The Iridian commander towered over him, all corded muscle and seething hatred. They crashed together in a whirlwind of fists and feet, pummeling each other mercilessly. Nesso was stronger, his blows landing like sledgehammers. But Henry was faster, more agile. He ducked and weaved, using the alien's own momentum against him. They grappled, locked in a deadly embrace. Nesso's hands closed around Henry's throat, squeezing the life out of him. Black spots swam in Henry's vision. This was it. This was how it ended. And then, a crack split the air. Nesso jerked, his grip slackening. A neat hole had appeared in the center of his forehead. As the Iridian slumped to the ground, Henry saw Max lowering his sniper rifle, a grim smile on his face. The rest of the Iridians, seeing their leader fall, scattered in disarray. Henry and his team seized the chance, fighting their way back to their ship. As they blasted away from the planet, they saw Iridian reinforcements arriving. They had kicked a hornet's nest all right, but they had what they came for. Back on Earth, the mood was grim as the human leaders reviewed the stolen intel. The Iridians were coming, and in force. Even with this warning, it looked like a hopeless fight. Voices were raised in the council chambers, some urging preemptive surrender, others suggesting negotiation. But Henry smacked his palm on the table, his voice ringing out. "We don't bow to these alien bastards," he growled. "We don't beg for mercy. We stand. We fight. We show them what it means to be human. Our freedom, our way of life, it's all on the line. And I, for one, am not going to roll over for some scaly son of a bitch from another world." His words galvanized the room. A plan began to form, desperate and daring. The bulk of Earth's fleet would confront the Iridians head-on, buying time, and a small team, led by Henry, would strike at the heart of the Iridian Empire itself. It was a suicide mission. They all knew it. But as Henry looked around at his fellow soldiers, he saw no fear in their eyes, only perseverance. They would fight to their last breath for their homes, for their people. The fate of humanity hung by a thread. But as long as soldiers like Henry Bennett drew breath, as long as the indomitable human spirit endured, there was hope. The Iridians were about to learn the true meaning of fear. Henry's heart pounded as he guided the stolen Iridian transport through the planet's atmosphere. The alien ship shuddered and creaked, unfamiliar controls lighting up beneath his fingertips. "Codes are good," Jenkins whispered from the co-pilot seat. "We're clear." They touched down in a rocky ravine, the looming spires of the Iridian capital visible in the distance. Henry killed the engines and turned to his team. "This is it, no turning back now." They moved swiftly across the alien landscape, staying low and using the terrain for cover. The massive underground facility soon came into view, a sprawling complex of metal and stone burrowed into the mountainside. "There's our way in," Henry nodded toward a maintenance hatch. Inside, the facility was a maze of twisting corridors and cavernous chambers. Strange machinery hummed and pulsed, the air thick with an acrid chemical tang. They encountered their first patrol at an intersection, 4 Iridian guards making their rounds. Max took them out with 4 precise shots from his silenced rifle, but the brief firefight had alerted others. Alarms began to blare as more Iridians converged on their position. Plasma bolts sizzled past Henry's head as he dove for cover. His team returned fire, their bullets finding purchase in alien flesh. They fought their way deeper into the complex, leaving a trail of Iridian bodies in their wake. In a narrow passageway, Max cried out as a plasma blast caught him in the side. He slumped against the wall, clutching the smoking wound. "Go!" Max gritted through clenched teeth. "I'll hold them here." Henry hesitated, torn between the mission and his wounded comrade. "That's an order, Bennett. Complete the mission." With a final nod to his friend, Henry led the rest of the team onward. Max's rifle barked behind them, buying them precious time. They finally reached the central control room. Inside, a tall Iridian in ornate armor stood before a massive view screen displaying the ongoing space battle. Human ships darted between lumbering Iridian cruisers, scoring hits and evading return fire with fluid grace. The Iridian turned, red eyes narrowing. So, the mammals have some fight in them after all. Henry raised his rifle. Hi, Commander Varaxis, I presume. Call off the invasion, now. Varaxis sneered and lunged, faster than Henry expected. The rifle went flying as they grappled, crashing into banks of delicate equipment. Henry's fist connected with alien flesh, but Varaxis responded with a crushing blow that sent Henry reeling. They traded savage blows, neither willing to yield. Henry could taste blood in his mouth, feel ribs crack under Varaxis's relentless assault. But he fought on, driven by the knowledge that Earth's fate hung in the balance. Finally, Henry managed to slip behind Varaxis and get him in a chokehold. The alien commander thrashed, but Henry held firm. "It's over," Henry growled. "Call it off." Varaxis sagged in defeat. He reached for the comms panel, ready to give the order that would save humanity. The doors hissed open. Commander Nesso strode in, flanked by a squad of elite guards. His eyes blazed with hate as he took in the scene. "What is this?" Nesso snarled. "You would surrender to these primitive apes?" "The battle is lost," Varaxis wheezed. "We must preserve what remains of our empire." "Coward!" Nesso spat. "I will lead our people to glory, with or without you." Henry tensed, caught between the two alien factions. The fate of two civilizations now hung by a thread, with Varaxis forced to make an impossible choice. Decision. Varaxis's eyes darted between Henry and Nesso, calculating his odds. In that split second, chaos erupted. Nesso snarled and opened fire, his plasma rifle scorching the air. Henry dove for cover, yanking Varaxis down with him. The High Commander's guards returned fire, filling the control room with a storm of energy bolts. "This is mutiny!" Varaxis roared over the din. "Stand down, Nesso!" But Nesso was beyond reason. He gunned down two of Varaxis's loyalists in cold blood, their bodies crumpling to the floor. "The Empire will not bow to human scum!" he bellowed. Henry's team fought back fiercely, their rifle fire keeping Nesso's troops at bay, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. "We need to get out of here," Henry hissed to Varaxis. "Your empire's tearing itself apart. Help us stop this madness before it's too late." Varaxis hesitated, centuries of hatred warring with cold logic. Finally, he nodded. "Very well, human. A temporary alliance." "Traitor!" Nesso howled. He lunged forward, seizing Varaxis by the throat. "I'll kill you myself." Henry acted on instinct. He tackled Nesso, grappling with the enraged Iridian commander. They crashed into a bank of computers, sparks flying. Nesso's fist caught Henry in the jaw, stars exploding in his vision. But Henry held on, knowing if he let go, they were all dead. "Go!" he shouted to his team. "Get Varaxis out of here!" Jenkins and Rodriguez grabbed the High Commander, hustling him towards the exit. Nesso howled in fury, redoubling his efforts to break free. He slammed Henry against a wall, the human's grip finally loosening. Nesso raised his weapon, murder in his eyes. But before he could fire, a single shot rang out. Nesso staggered, a smoking hole in his shoulder. Behind him stood Max, pale but determined, his rifle steady. "Thought you could use a hand, boss," Max grinned weakly. They sprinted from the control room, alarms blaring throughout the facility. Nesso's voice echoed over the intercom, thick with rage. "All forces. The humans have taken High Commander Varaxis hostage. Kill them on sight. I am assuming control of the Empire effective immediately." They fought their way through twisting corridors, Iridian troops converging from all sides. Henry's team moved with practiced precision, covering each other's advance. Varaxis proved surprisingly capable in combat, his knowledge of Iridian tactics giving them a crucial edge. They burst out into the streets of the Iridian capital, a sprawling metropolis of towering spires and bustling crowds. Chaos reigned as news of the coup spread. Civilians scattered in panic, while military patrols swarmed the area. "This way!" Varaxis shouted, leading them down a narrow alley. "There's a transport pad 2 blocks east." They darted between buildings, using the urban terrain to their advantage. Max provided cover fire from the rear, his expert marksmanship keeping their pursuers at bay. But the constant exertion, was taking its toll on his wounded body. "Leave me," Max gasped as they paused to catch their breath. "I'll only slow you down." Henry gripped his friend's shoulder. "Not a chance in hell. We started this together. We're finishing it together." They pressed on, the spaceport looming ahead. A sleek Iridian shuttle sat on the launch pad, its engines humming. Freedom was within reach. But Naso wasn't done yet. A phalanx of his elite guard blocked their path, weapons leveled. "Surrender now," their leader growled, "or be obliterated." Henry's team formed a protective ring around Varaxis, ready for one final stand. The air crackled with tension, fingers tightening on triggers. Suddenly, the sky lit up with fire. Human warships punched through the atmosphere, their weapons blazing. They'd broken through the Iridian blockade. In the confusion, Henry and his team sprinted for the shuttle. Plasma bolts sizzled past as they clambered aboard. Henry threw himself into the pilot's seat, frantically working the alien controls. The shuttle rocketed skyward, leaving the chaos of the Iridian capital behind. But their troubles were far from finished. Neso's warships closed in, weapons locked on. "Brace for impact!" Henry shouted as enemy fire raked their hull. The shuttle shuddered and bucked, alarms screaming. And then salvation arrived. The human fleet swooped in, forming a protective screen around the battered shuttle. Their guns roared, driving back Neso's forces. "This is Admiral Chen," a welcome voice crackled over the comms. "Looks like you boys could use an escort home." As they jumped to lightspeed, leaving Iridian space behind, Henry slumped in his seat. They'd survived, but at what cost? With Varaxis deposed and Neso in control, the galaxy teetered on the brink of all-out war. Henry turned to Varaxis, the alien's expression unreadable. "So," Henry said grimly, "what the hell do we do now?" The battered human ship lurched out of hyperspace, its hull scarred and smoking. Henry Bennett stood at the viewport, watching as Earth's orbital defenses came into view. But something was off. The familiar pattern of satellites and stations looked chaotic, fragmented. "What the hell?" Henry muttered. Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the comms. "Welcome back, Bennett. Things have changed while you were gone." As they docked with the central command station, Henry saw the tension etched on every face. Soldiers from different colonies eyed each other warily. Heated arguments echoed through the corridors. In the war room, a cacophony of voices assaulted them. Colonial governors shouted over each other, their faces red with anger. "We must strike now," bellowed Governor Reyes of Mars. "Wipe out the Iridian threat once and for all." "Are you mad?" countered Governor Lee of Europa. "That's suicide. We need time to build our defenses." Henry watched as Varaxis slipped through the crowd, whispering in ears, his alien eyes gleaming with cunning. The deposed Iridian leader was playing a dangerous game. Henry pounded his fist on the central holotable. The room fell silent. "We're giving Neso exactly what he wants," Henry growled. "Division, chaos. While we argue, he's preparing to crush us all." He laid out his plan, a surgical strike, cut off the head of the snake. The room erupted in fresh debate, but Henry saw the seed of hope take root. Days later, Henry stood before his hand-picked team. Max, looking pale but determined, gave him a nod. They all knew the stakes. Admiral Chen pinned final mission orders to their uniforms. "Godspeed," she said quietly. "And good hunting." Their stealth ship slipped past the front lines of the Iridian Civil War, guided by Varaxis's inside knowledge. The volcanic hellscape of Craxor Prime loomed before them, Neso's fortress a jagged scar on the landscape. They fought their way through level after level, the air thick with plasma fire and the screams of dying Iridians. Henry watched good soldiers fall, their bodies left behind as the team pressed on. Finally, they reached the inner sanctum. The massive doors hissed open, revealing Commander Neso. The Iridian's cybernetic implants pulsed with sickly light, his eyes full of hate. "Insects," Neso snarled. "You dare challenge me here?" Henry raised his weapon. "It's over, Neso. Surrender." Neso's laughter was cold and cruel. "I think not, human." The Iridian commander moved with inhuman speed, cybernetic limbs blurring. Henry found himself on the defensive, barely able to block the crushing blows. A vicious strike sent Henry reeling. He tasted blood, vision swimming. Nesso loomed over him, arm raised for the killing blow. Suddenly, Max was there. The grizzled veteran hurled himself at Nesso, taking the full force of the attack. There was a sickening crunch of bone. "No!" Henry screamed. Max, somehow still conscious, raised his sidearm. The shot rang out, catching Nesso in a gap in his armor. The Iridian staggered back, fluorescent blood seeping from the wound. Henry didn't hesitate. He tackled Nesso, driving him to the ground. They grappled furiously, Henry's rage giving him strength. His fingers found Nesso's throat, squeezing with grim purpose. Nesso's cybernetic eyes flickered and went dark. The tyrant who had threatened humanity lay dead. Henry crawled to Max's side, cradling his friend's broken body. "Hold on, buddy," he choked out. "We're going home." But Max's eyes were already growing dim. With his last breath, he whispered, "We did it, Henry. We won." In the days that followed, the Iridian Empire fractured. Varaxis, cunning as ever, maneuvered his way back into power. A fragile peace settled over both civilizations, but the scars ran deep. On a windswept hill on a distant colony world, Henry stood before a simple marker, Max's final resting place. He placed a hand on the cold stone, remembering his friend's sacrifice. "The war's over, Max," Henry said quietly, "but I can't help feeling it's just the beginning."
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.